Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for episode 4 of the Practical Oiler, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the nerdy when it comes to essential oils. So, when I was doing research for this episode, I did what most people do when they want to research something. I started with Google. So, this is a little off topic, but still important to mention to people. The funny thing about Google and the way their algorithm works is that it's an affirmative result algorithm. It's always going to show you the results that affirmatively display what you searched. So if you want to find out whether candles are harmful and you Google, are candles harmful, Google's going to show you every health, natural living, and mommy blog out there that tells you that candles are harmful. It's always important to search both sides of anything. So I also Googled, are candles safe? Which gave me results telling me why candles are safe. So it's important for anyone doing research to actually read both sides and then determine based on the facts given which you agree with and not just read the side supporting your own original hypothesis. So I'm going to share some of the dangers of candles that I found and which are true and which are not. But I'm also going to show why candle companies say they're safe and why some of that doesn't necessarily hold up under some of the scientific studies that I found. So let's start out with the craziest thing that I read when I Googled, are candles dangerous? I found a mom blog that said candles are dangerous because there's lead in candle wicks. Wait, Karen, do candle wicks actually contain lead? So a U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission investigation found that despite a voluntary industry agreement in the 1970s to remove lead from candle wicks, a small percentage of candles sold in several years prior to 2003 still contained lead cord wicks. So some of the candles tested by the CPSC staff emitted lead levels in excess of 3,000 micrograms per hour, about 7 times the rate that could lead to elevated levels of lead in a child. So the CPSC estimates that an indoor lead level of 430 micrograms per hour from burning candles could result in hazardous exposure to children. So then, in April of 2003, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission voted unanimously to ban manufacture and sale of lead cord wicks and candles with lead cord wicks. So as long as you aren't hoarding candles from before 2003, there's no chance you have a candle with a lead cord wick. So now that wicks are out of the way, let's talk about candle wax. There's a few kind of candles, including natural beeswax candles and soy-based candles, but the most common candle is the ever-popular paraffin wax candle. The most popular brands of candles, including the big ones you see at the malls, are paraffin, and even wax warmers are made of paraffin wax. So what's so important about paraffin? Well, let's talk about what paraffin is. Paraffin wax is a colorless or white, somewhat translucent, hard wax consisting of a mixture of solid straight chain hydrocarbons ranging in melting point from about 120 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So where do we get it? Paraffin wax is obtained from petroleum by dewaxing light lubricating oil stocks. Synthetic paraffin wax was introduced commercially after World War II as one of the products obtained in the Fischer-Tropsch reaction, which converts coal gas to hydrocarbons. I'll leave a link in the description about what that reaction is. So, candle wax, or paraffin, is composed of chains of connected carbon atoms surrounded by hydrogen atoms, and these hydrocarbon molecules are supposed to burn completely. For a paraffin candle, the balanced chemical reaction looks like this. Sorry for those of you that are listening on the podcast that can't see the equation on the screen, but basically when burned completely, all that should be left is carbon dioxide and water. But what happens when there is a not complete combustion of those hydrocarbons? A study presented at the American Chemical Society's national meeting in fall of 2009 in Washington, D.C. generated international media coverage when Dr. Ruhollah asserted that carcinogens were given off by paraffin-based candles, threatening the lives of candlelit bubble bath enthusiasts worldwide. Paraffin, being derived from petroleum, is suspected to give off toxic chemicals like toluene and benzene. Toluene and benzene are known to be carcinogens or cancer-causing agents. So, toluene specifically can induce DNA strand breakdowns which affect the central nervous system. The effects of toluene on animals are similar to those seen in humans. The main effect of toluene is on the brain and nervous system, but animals exposed to moderate or high levels of toluene also show harmful effects in their liver, kidneys, and lungs, and impaired immune function. Benzene is a colorless, flammable liquid with a sweet odor. It evaporates quickly when exposed to air. Benzene is formed from natural processes such as volcanoes and forest fires, but most exposure to benzene results from human activities. Remember, toluene and benzene are released due to the incomplete combustion of the hydrocarbons in the paraffin, which means they're not present in beeswax or soy-based candles, which makes it important to note that research on cancerous effects of candles are being funded by the Department of Agriculture, a body which would benefit greatly from a rise in soybean candle production. If paraffin-based candles were to be replaced by soybean, it would require 60 million pounds of soybeans annually, which would directly benefit soybean farmers. Okay, so now that we've talked about the part of the candles that don't have a smell, let's talk about everyone's favorite part of the candle, the fragrances. Environmental Working Group's 2004 analysis of potentially sensitizing ingredients in cosmetics shows that approximately half of all products examined list the word fragrance on the label. Fragrances are considered to be among the top 5 known allergens. They also noted that certain types of asthma attacks are specifically triggered by and only by cosmetic fragrances. Fragrance oils can contain all sorts of combinations of acetylene, ethers, ketones, lactones, terpenes, and most often contain benzene and aldehydes, all of which have been linked to cancer, birth defects, central nervous system disorders, neurobiological disorders, and allergic reactions. So let's, for the sake of the argument, say you've made it to this point of the video or the podcast, but you still don't believe a single word I've said. And that's completely fine, and if so, I totally understand. You're like, I use candles every day, and I don't have cancer or asthma. Cool. So let's talk about something more simple. Fire. According to the National Fire Prevention Association, candles cause an estimated 15,600 house fires, 150 deaths, and 1,270 injuries each year. But Chris, I'm completely safe and make sure a candle will never start a fire in my house, so I don't care about that either. Fine. Let's talk about something we can all say is something we care about. Money. So for about $15, which is very generous, you can get one of those typical large candles from Amazon. Its advertised lifespan is 110 to 150 hours of burn time. So let's take the higher number and figure out a price per hour. So $15 divided by 150 hours gives you about 10 cents an hour to run a candle. Well, that's not bad. So let's take a look at an oil diffuser. The math here is a little more complicated since the oil is dropped into distilled water and then diffused into the air. So first let's figure out the cost of the oil, since we know we're going to need a price per drop, so let's figure that out. So you can buy a Young Living lavender essential oil for $24. This totals 15 milliliters of oil. There are 0.05 milliliters in a drop of oil. So $24 divided by 15 milliliters divided by 0.05 milliliters per drop gives you about 8 cents per drop of essential oil. Now, it's generally advised to use 5 to 6 drops of oil per 1200 milliliter tank of the Desert Mist diffuser. We're also using the high end of the advertised lifespan, which is 8 hours on low mode. So 8 cents for a drop of oil times 5 drops divided by 8 hours gives you about 5 cents worth of oil per hour. To be a bit more fair, most people recommend to use distilled water. You can buy 3,785.4 milliliters of distilled water for about 89 cents, or 29 cents per diffuser fill. Also, at 10 watts of power and 15 cents per kilowatt hour, you're looking at about 1 cent of electricity per 10-hour usage. So 8 cents per drop of oil times 5 drops plus 29 cents of water and 1 cent of electricity divided by 8 hours gives you about 0.087 cents per hour to run and maintain an oil diffuser. So putting this all together, 8 cents oil diffuser cost per hour divided by 10 cents of candle cost per hour gives you the fact that a candle is still about 20% more expensive than an oil diffuser. This obviously isn't going to break any banks, but I just like doing the math. So with that being said, oil diffusing is cheaper, it's safer, it's not going to burn your house down, it's not going to put toxic chemicals like toluene and benzene into your air, it's not going to cause an asthma attack or breathing problems due to cosmetic synthetic fragrances, and you're also going to get the benefits of the pure therapeutic natural oils that you're using. So for me and my house, we're going to keep diffusing. The other decision's up to you. See you next time.